Aviation Safety, Operations, and Innovation will come to order. I want to welcome everyone to our hearing today, addressing close calls to improve aviation safety. This may be the most important hearing we have all year, and I want to thank Chair Cantwell, Ranking Member Cruz, and Ranking Member Moran for their help in making this hearing happen. The near misses we've been seeing recently are not normal. They are a warning that our aviation system is under stress. And today, we will have an opportunity to hear from several key stakeholders about why we are experiencing so many near misses and what we need to do to increase our safety margins. We will hear from National Transportation Safety Chairwoman Jennifer Homendy, FAA Air Traffic Organization Chief Operating Officer Tim Arell, National Air Traffic Controller Association President Rich Santa, Airline Pilots Association President Captain Jason Ambrosi, and former FAA Administrator Randy Babbitt. While disagreements tend to garner more coverage than compromise, it's worth noting that I remain proud of the bipartisan FAA Reauthorization Act that we introduced together, and I remain committed to finding a path forward to passage. Since in my non-biased, purely objective opinion, the Cantwell, Cruz, Duckworth, Moran Senate bill is far superior to the House alternative. Of course, safety must always come first, and that is why I say this may be the most important aviation hearing we hold this year. Our nation is experiencing an aviation safety crisis. Near misses are happening way too frequently, and I refuse to be complacent in waiting to act until the next runway incursion becomes a fatal collision. A wave of retirements and buyouts drained valuable experience from the United States aviation system, and coupled with a surge in demand, created essentially a perfect storm that's eroded the system's safety margins down to dangerously thin levels. In far too many near misses, the difference between a close call and a deadly disaster has depended on a single individual taking emergency action along with some good luck. According to the New York Times, in a recent 12-month period, there were 300 accounts of near collisions involving commercial carriers. That's almost one near miss per day so far. And I think we've got some images behind us here. The darker image behind me is a still picture from a video recorded by an individual riding in the jump seat of a JetBlue Flight 206 while landing at Boston Logan Airport. It shows a Hop-a-Jet charter flight crossing the runway they are about to land on and reveals how JetBlue 206 came within 400 feet of the charter flight crossing from left to right in front of them while taking off from an intersecting runway. Despite that Hop-a-Jet charter flight receiving explicit instructions to line up and wait. Fortunately, Logan Airport had installed a surface detection equipment that notified air traffic control when the charter flight began its unauthorized takeoff roll. And this layer of safety was critical in empowering the controller to provide JetBlue 206 with the go-around instructions that averted disaster. Unfortunately, that very same month at Austin Bergstrom International Airport, we witnessed how the lack of critical surface detection equipment drastically increases the risk of a catastrophe. In that incident, a controller working on an overtime shift cleared FedEx 767 to land on a runway that Southwest 737 had been cleared to take off from. It was foggy in the early hours, and the controller could neither see the runway with their own eyes nor use ground radar to track the location of the 737, which was still on the runway as the large 767 descended through the clouds. Words fail to adequately describe how close 131 souls came to dying that day. The following animation demonstrates what it looks like when a 767 comes within 100 feet of a landing 737. Here it comes. These two aircraft came within 100 feet of another. And ATC did not see how close those came, and it was the pilot who called for the go-around and initiated his own go-around and told the other aircraft that he notified the other aircraft that they almost came in contact with one another, and the air traffic controller never saw it. But the air traffic controller also was on an overtime shift. Unfortunately, the near misses keep happening. Last month, an Alaska Airlines flight executive an Alaska Airlines flight executing a go-round in Portland, Oregon, veered into the flight path of a SkyWest flight taking off from a parallel runway. The FAA, Congress, and the aviation industry must treat these near misses as precursor events that, left unchecked, will eventually result in a deadly catastrophe. We have many layers of safety in our aviation system. The first layer is the pilot-controller readback. The second layer is all the airport designs and markings. Next is the runway safety lights that turn red when the runway is active, alerting a crossing pilot to not cross. In ideal situations, the fourth layer is a ground radar tool. And of course, the last line of defense lies with the flight crew, especially the captain and first officer. Despite multiple layers of safety, far too many near misses have come down to the last line of defense. And bottom line, a system that repeatedly forces pilots into taking emergency evasive actions to save lives is either a broken system or one that is overwhelmed by new risks. Such new risks could be the result of aggregate loss of experience that has forced the industry to confront a workforce that overall is less experienced, from pilots to controllers to technicians and other personnel. It appears that we've been fortunate to have experienced pilots in many of these instances who prevented a close call from becoming a disaster. But continuing to count on such good fortune is neither sustainable nor responsible. I hope we'll hear more about this from our witnesses, but one thing we already know, now is not the time to weaken or water down the post-Kogan era safety system. Now is the time to strengthen it. This includes prioritizing one of the most vital pillars of our aviation safety system, air traffic control. Look, every air traffic controller has the privilege and pressure of working in a role that is inherently stressful, even on a good day. But that reality is no excuse for our current status quo, which forces controllers to regularly work 60-hour weeks because an estimated 99% of airports are understaffed, in addition to many airports lacking important runway safety technology. As both a pilot and a passenger, I refuse to accept a status quo that places the lives of our constituents in the hands of civil servants who are overworked and utterly exhausted. More than a decade ago, the FAA established a new pilot rest and crew rest rule. This action aligned with the growing body of knowledge demonstrating that optimizing human performance requires optimizing rest and recovery. And when it comes to optimizing performance, the stakes could not be higher for ATC. FAA prioritizes the problem of fatigue controllers, and Congress must invest in these critical American workers to ensure that ATC staffing levels are sufficient to end once and for all the era of forcing controllers to regularly work 60 hours per week, and often without the benefit of vital safety technology and tools. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about how we can work together to enhance safety and get our margins back to where they need to be. I now recognize Ranking Member Moran for his opening statement.